Let's begin.
Yes.
I made a deck this morning. I had to put it together at the last minute, and I know it has some accessibility problems. So I thought that what we might do is walk through this deck and talk about some of the things that people can do that are pretty easy to make their PowerPoint slides more accessible. So the first thing that I will show you, Colin, is I chose a layout or design for the deck that is a simple one. I choose the high contrast one that is black with white text. There's also the one that's white with black text. I choose the simpler ones because it makes it easier for me. I don't have to deal with as much design stuff. And it's also easier to see. So you just close the blinds in your room because it was sunny. That can make it hard to see. That's why white text on a black background works easier. So some of the themes to pick are the simpler themes. It doesn't mean that you can't have sexy features in them that are more complex, but it does mean that in terms of readability and understandability and also transformation into other formats, it's going to be a little easier. So that's the first thing I do. The second thing is I've got this message at the bottom. Can you see that, Colin? It says accessibility investigate.
I sure can. Yeah.
All right. So full disclosure, I'm on a Mac and I'm using Office 365 and this is PowerPoint. There are a few differences with PCs, but there are corollaries to all of this, and I'll mention a few of those. So if I press, what's that?
Is this the app on your computer or is this on the web?
Yeah, no, this is the app.
Okay.
I think I've seen that the web version has fewer accessibility features. I think the web version, I'm not sure about this, but the navigation bar seems to be not showing as many things as I need when I'm doing this. So somebody would have to investigate that. So when I press accessibility investigate, it opens up this bar over here in the side, this tab, and I can keep accessibility checker running while I work, which I do. And I usually keep it in this view. So I've got my slides, my notes, and my accessibility checker running on the side. So it's showing me a number of errors in my slide deck, and I'll just go through those. Missing alt text. That means I have images that I haven't put alt text with. Holy cow, I have a lot of images on this one. So what I'll do is I'll open up the alt text tab here. I just did that by going up to alt text. And when I click on an image, it should give me, if there is alt text, it should tell me. If there isn't, it'll sometimes say that it's generated it automatically. Like it thinks this is a cake. It's not a cake. It's a virus.
Not a cake that I'd like to eat.
Not a cake I'd like to eat either. So I'm just going to put a virus. There is some art to alt text, like a virus isn't very descriptive. You can go overboard and you can talk about how it's gray, it's circular, it's got little red globules in triangle shape on them. What you have to do here is think for an equivalent experience for somebody who's using a screen reader, for example, or somebody who's just not looking at the screen. What do they need to know to get the same essence of what I'm trying to say here? And all I really want to show is that it's a virus. This image is a diagram, it says. So you can see how the generated automatically are often quite poor. This is a view of temperature change in the last 50 years globally. Or maybe I'll just say global view, right? So that it, yes, Colin. You raised your hand.
I did raise my hand. My question, it doesn't so much have to do with your descriptions, so I apologize for being an interruption there. But there's that mark as decorative option down at the bottom.
Yes.
And I don't know when it's appropriate to use that, or if ever.
That's a great question. So let's go to this slide. Oftentimes this isn't a good example because it's not showing it as a shape. It could show up as an image. If I put that in there as an image, or I draw something, like I want to make some really fancy thing, this could be listed as an image. It's not now, so this is actually not a good example. So if, for example, there is a line or something in here that is not important to the understanding of the slide, it's just decorative, then I would press the mark as decorative. So if, for example, it wasn't that important for people to see that there is this chart here, I could mark it as decorative and it'll tell the screen reader to skip that. So you would mark as decorative those things that are just decorative. If it's just a shape or a squiggly or a line and it's not important, you would mark it as decorative. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And I'm wondering about like this particular slide here. There are, I could see 3 of these images as possibly being decorative.
Okay.
The hammer and nail, I don't see that as having a connection to the content of the slide.
And that it could be absolutely the case. And some of that is going to be stylistic. I've got a lot of text on this slide. It's not great to have that much text, but what I'm trying to say is that there are things that are happening in our world that we can't predict and speculate. So climate change, we don't know exactly how that's going to manifest, but it is affecting us. Virus, we didn't predict. Extreme weather that is related to climate change that a lot of us are experiencing, and just it's a hammer with a screw in front of it on wood. So the idea that if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, it's not a nail, it's a screw. So it's not necessary to have these images to understand the text of the slide. It's not a very good slide, to be honest. It's got too much text and the images could be a little confusing. They could be decorative in this case, but what I would do here is I would mention the images. So I do mention that we couldn't have predicted or didn't predict the last 2 years of the pandemic, the temperature change, and climate change is something that some people still are speculating about. Extreme weather and experiencing that leads us to not being able to predict how our environment is going to behave. So making plans that way is a little tough. And sort of that anecdote of the hammer and the nail that I mentioned.
Thanks, that makes sense.
Okay. So I fixed the alt text. I put tornado there and I put a hammer with a wood screw in front of it on wood. Because one of my points about the previous image is that this is not just a square peg in a round hole, that there's a further upstream assumption that's being made here, and that is it's a wood board too. So the point is to question everything, and I talk about that in the notes. And I also mention it in the alt text for this image. I like to duplicate that. So I will fill out the alt text and then will also have an image description in my notes, and I will voice it when I'm walking through the slide, when I'm walking through the presentation. The reason I do that is because at the moment of the presentation, it's best practice or good practice to mention what's on the screen in case anybody's not looking or can't see. And the reason I put it in the notes, and I wind up putting a lot of my notes in there as a bit of a transcript, because I can extract that and share that as a text transcript after I give the talk. So immediately I can share an accessible slide deck, text transcript, and any links that I have, and a recording of the presentation as well. So it's a multimodal experience. Okay, all good?
Good for me. Yep.
All right, so I'm going to go back to here, and it says require ongoing. So you see what it's actually pointing to is this. I have an embedded image. So I'm gonna bring this to the front and try to get rid of that image that's underneath. Oh, look, I've made a mess of this. They're grouped. All right, so ungroup. Now I'm gonna get rid of, uh-oh. I'm gonna smoothly get rid of, oh, what did I do here? I made a mess. They're still grouped. No, they're not grouped. Misbehaving. All right. There we
I
go.
love PowerPoint.
You know what? It's because I put a box around this one. I didn't put a box around this one. So this one has a line. I can go up in my design. I think is it in format? Yeah, so I can go in here. And I can say no line. So now I've got consistency. What happened up here, Colin? Wait.
The PowerPoint.
I have got so much resistance to the urge to speculate that I've got it twice. So, oh my gosh. Anybody else have this experience all the time? We're just going to leave it like that. So accessibility, see how that one's gone now because I did address the issue. It was actually pointing to the image that I had put behind this text box. So I had introduced the issue. So there's another one, an iStock image. Aha. So I'll click on this and then I'll go to alt text and it just says iStock.jpg. That's not helpful. So I'm going to describe it as flowers growing through a desolate landscape. Something like that. And this one is arguably one that could be marked as decorative. I don't think I even talk about it. So actually, let's mark it as decorative. Okay.
Can I interrupt you here?
Yeah.
The text that's on that image.
Yes.
Is that on the slide or is that on the image?
It's on a text box. It's separate from the image.
Okay.
I've just put a text box over it.
So what are your thoughts on using like a screenshot of text?
Aha. If a screenshot of text is in there, that's a great question, Colin. That's an image. And as such, cannot be understood. So it has to be spelled out. So for example, if I take a screenshot of this, and then I have this, this is the screenshot I just took. This is an image. Oh, what did I do?
We can't see your screenshot.
Oh, you can't see it.
Create a new slide and paste it in there.
Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to create a new slide here. I'm going to get rid of this stuff because I'm just going to put an image in. There we go. Here it is. So, oh boy. Now I've done it. All right, so I'm going to take this design suggestion here. Now, when I put that in there, look, it's prompting me alt text to picture containing text. So I can click on that at that time when I bring the image in, and that's when I can fix the alt text. Now, your question was a good one. What if the text is part of the image? So you see here, the text is part of the image. They're inextricable. This is not text. This is an image. So you cannot see the text on a screen reader. So you will have to, in this case, I would reproduce the text. Otherwise, you won't be able to read it on a screen reader. I'd also put it down here in notes. And I'd also read it out. That's a great question, Colin.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to our accessibility. We've done all of our alt text now, they're gone. And I will say this to people, if you use Google Slides and then you bring it into PowerPoint, you're gonna find yourself with a boatload of alt text things that say Google image, because Slides uses little images and it wants to treat those all as things that need alt text. It's a nightmare. It will make you sad. Do this from the beginning, not after you're done making the presentation, and it'll be a lot happier. All right, next error is a missing slide title on 3 different slides. So when I click on it, a couple of things happen. I get into outline view over here on the left, and you can see I don't have a title for number 16. That's why it's got no text there. Also, it took me straight to this slide. So what I can do 2 things here. One is I can put a title here. And then, whoop, sorry. Where did?
You were on slide 7.
What happened? Slide 7. So what you see here is when I type in the outline form, it fills it into the title box on the image. Now, I don't want the title to appear on this image because what I've got is other text. So what I can do, this is a super secret trick. I can click and drag my title outside of my slide. The title will still be associated with the slide. So if you're using a screen reader, you'll still be able to read the title. And when I play my presentation, nobody will see the baking and bias. So this is a little bit
brilliant.
It's pretty cool, eh? This is a little bit of a value add for somebody with a screen reader. They can actually get more information than the typical use of the PowerPoint, so they can see the baking and bias. Now, go ahead.
Could you do the same thing just by making that text black?
You could.
Black text.
You could. You could also hide it behind something. So you could do all of those things, Colin. You could do that. Make it text. Now you see me, now you don't.
Brilliant.
Right? Because it's all about, is it visible? And to whom? And how? Excellent question. Now, one of the things you'll notice is one of my tips down here says duplicate slide title. I've used the slide title ethics more than once. I've used it on slide 6 and slide 9. So it's warning me about that. The reason it's doing that, Colin, is because in addition to page numbers on our slide deck, somebody with a screen reader could use the titles to jump to content. So if I have the same title across many, 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 many slides, which I used to do all the time, it could be really confusing. They have no idea which ethics slide they're going to go to. But if they remember that one thing, they want to go over there. So in this case, this is actually, oh, well, I'm going to say, I'm going to rename it modern ethical issues. And then I'm going to do that same trickeroony. I'm going to slide it off the slide, because I don't want it to be visible, but it needs to be there. So slide 11, I can see doesn't have a title. Again, I'm going to move it off the slide. I can see slide 16 doesn't have one. Oh, that's that one. This is a duplicate image Colin made me make.
Unbelievable.
Right? Because that's an image now. It doesn't have a title, so it wants a title. Just gonna slide that off. You wouldn't leave this in, obviously. I'll take this out. Yes. Okay. So we got a couple of other things. Reading order. What do you think that's all about? Let me tell you. I'm gonna go
Please
up.
do.
I'm gonna go up to my arrange and go down to selection pane. This is called reading order on a PC on the menu, on the navigation, the menu bar. So you see these things here. This corresponds to the different elements on the slide. Now here's the weird part, Colin. For Macs, it's listed in reverse order. So the thing on the bottom is going to be read first. In this case, title 1 will be read, then subtitle, then picture 3, then picture 4. Let's say I want picture 3 to be the last one. I would just click it and move it up. And now picture 4 is coming before. Let's say I don't want that on the slide anymore. I unclick the little eyeball and it goes away.
So this is for a screen reader?
That's it.
Is
It's
what
for
you said?
screen reader.
Okay.
So the screen reader is going to read title, then subtitle, then it's going to read picture 3, then it's going to read picture 4. Now it begs the question, what is the alt text for the picture? IDI logo. So that can be marked as decorative. I don't need them to see that. And picture 3, IDRC logo, mark as decorative. That's fine. You don't need to see that either. Okay. So
Awesome.
that, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying how awesome that is.
I'm going to go back to my accessibility tab, and I've got reading order to check in some other areas. So for slide 7, back to selection pane, title 1 is way up here. Remember, we put it off the slide. I just need to drag it so this is the first thing that's read. And then the accessibility of slide 7 is good. Slide 11, same case. Title needs to be in front. Again, reverse order on the Mac. Title is at the bottom, it's read first. On a PC, title's at the top, it's read first.
So now, back when you slid that title off that slide, that was so that there would still be a title there, but it wouldn't show up on your display. Why is there a difference in what you're displaying and what you want the screen reader to go through?
Because I want the screen reader to be able to get to the titles. The title is important. But for the visual user, I don't want a title on that slide because it interferes with the text that's there. In that case, the title is really just used for findability.
Okay.
But I like to think of it as the extra bits that somebody who uses a screen reader gets. They get a little bit more in their experience. I give them secret things. kind of like alt text is an opportunity to really engage with people who use screen readers or read the alt text and give them a little bit more context or a little bit more information.
Maybe you're planning to get to this, but is there a way to preview what a screen reader would be reading in your presentation?
There is, but we'll get to that maybe later.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Slide 14 is a hot mess. We're back to this slide. You see, it's the one that gave us some fits earlier. This slide is complex and unnecessarily so, one would argue. So I've got a couple of things going on. I've got 2 columns of content. I've got some of my title. It's just a mess. All right, so slide 14, selection pane. Look at all this stuff, Colin. So what's important?
It's a lot.
Title. Get it down there. Then we want to say assumptions comes next in reading order, right? And these are the assumptions. Then the reality is the next thing I want folks to see. Then the text there. And then the images and the order that they appear matters much less to me. Okay? Now, something that's interesting is that slide is still here under check reading order. It's PowerPoint's way of saying, hey, Jess, this slide is a hot mess. And I'm still not convinced that you know which reading order it should be in. So I'm going to perpetuate this and it will bug you because I will never get rid of it until you make a better slide. So going on to slide 17, which is much more straightforward, we'll go into the selection pane. Title needs to be moved down. Slide 18, similarly, title just needs to be moved down. Slide 19, I'm assuming similarly, because those were probably based on the same template and I copy pasted, and often when you copy paste, you reproduce issues. Slide 21, okay, selection pane, title is contacting me. Content placeholder should be second, that's the content, and then the images, that's fine. So it's not going to get rid of slide 21 and it's not going to get rid of slides 14. That's going to stay there. And that's because those slides are messy. They don't like the way that it's going. That's fine. That's a warning. And then suggested alternative text is being used here and here. I just put those images in today. And yes, I want to fix that. This is referencing an article from the Hewlett Foundation's website. I want to format the, oh, sorry, not format the picture. I want to go to my alt text. And I'm going to put, oh, I'm not going to put that there. I'm going to put, here we go. So there's the automatic generated building a clock tower, has nothing to do with it. It's an article from the Hewlett website entitled Reimagining Capitalism, Major Philanthropies. You ever type worse when you're doing something that you know is being shared?
Absolutely. I think it's a law of the universe.
This is from February 16. I'm a good rule follower, so that's why that's philanthropies and reimagining. Okay. And I could put a little more context in here. I can say a number of major funders are committing to exploring new economies, right? So it gives a little bit, again, a little bit more for the screen reader user. Now in my notes, I have a lot more written here about the article. So that's also going to be available to a user who gets, who gets this. Gonna move that title down. Oh, look what happened.
You got PowerPointed.
Did. So who is rectangle 9? Rectangle 9. So what happened here, Colin, is I had a perfectly good slide and then I went to design ideas, which is this special feature in PowerPoint that lets you look at what they recommend for your slide and will often show you some pretty versions of it or some different ways to style it. I can't get it right now for unknown reasons. But what has happened is that this design has introduced a rectangle. And I've just eliminated the rectangle. But the rectangle is necessary for the title to appear. That's pesky. Anyway, that's fine. Title is still first.
Is the rectangle the black?
Yeah, so I think it's like,
Seems like something that PowerPoint really wants to be there.
it really does. It's putting it back. I don't know why it cares so much about the rectangle. I don't know, to be honest. It's gone.
It's gone now. I don't see a difference. Can you see a difference?
No, the pesky triangle rectangles are gone. Okay, then I've got suggested alternative text here. So it's just telling me to check it. It's a warning because it's saying we used our intelligence services that sometimes are not super intelligent. So here I'm on this image of Eastern Market in Detroit. I go to alt text and it says group of people standing outside a building, which isn't horrible, but it also then tells you it's a description automatically generated with low confidence. That's, I appreciate it's being explicit about its confidence level. This is Eastern Market in Detroit, farmers market made up of diverse communities from around Michigan, all committed to growing and selling edible foods. It's been around since 1841. It's a pretty impressive farmers market. Got a very large Somali population in Michigan, a lot of immigrant populations, and they've brought their own practices with food. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. So I have now gotten as close as I am going to get to being fully accessible. It still says accessibility investigate down here. It doesn't say that I'm good to go. And that's because it's got these warnings about slide 14 and slide 21. Now, let's say I get rid of some of this mess on slide 14. Selection pane. Why don't we just get rid of some of our images? Maybe it's going to be happier about it now. I think it's still going to be mad because I've got my content into columns here, and the slides like to be title and then content underneath. So I have a feeling it's going to be happier now. It's not going to carry any of the meaning that I had. Oh, it's still saying check rating winner. I don't know why. Should be happier now. It's just really mad at me about this slide. Do you think I got PowerPointed again? We're going to delete this slide because I want to show you what it looks like when you successfully. No accessibility issues found. People with disabilities should not have difficulty reading this presentation. And then down here it says accessibility good to go.
Well done, Jess.
Thank you. I cheated. You
Well,
know what? This slide probably has to just be recreated. I don't know why it's having issues with the reading order.
Could it be the alignment
I think it's the
of your,
images still.
of your bullets there?
No, it's fixed now. It was the images. And this gets to the limitations of PowerPoint. It likes things in this format. And you know it likes things in this format because if you go to the layout, it'll show you, look, these are the only formats you can have. Now for the to content, I should have had it in this format. And then it would have been happier. I just didn't have the content done properly. So let's see if we can do that. I don't want to cheat and like get my accessibility check mark. Okay, so let's see if we can go to this slide and say we want this layout to content. Okay, so it's given me an opportunity to get better at this. So now I've got my content in the two places. Maybe what I'll also do is mark these as decorative and see if it likes that. I don't think it's going to. The assumptions and the reality, I think it doesn't like either because those are supposed to be subheadings. And I just created them as text boxes. So we'll see. It's back to not liking this. So this is about the images. And I think
when you deleted one of those images, you just marked them as decorative now.
Well, what I did is I moved the 3 over in front of the 4, and it's because it's biasing to a left to right reading style. So now it says I'm good to go again. Good to go. So again, don't trust the automated intelligent systems because they can give you incorrect information. That was a lot, but there's more. There's doing tables. There's making sure that your links are accessible. There's then exporting so that you've got content in both PowerPoint. You can export to a PDF. You can export your PowerPoint as is, and then you can extract your notes as a text document, like I said, and you can share that. And then you were wondering about, so
yeah, can you preview what a screen reader would provide?
Let's see. I don't think within the application you can. You'd have to put VoiceOver on the Mac and do it that way. PowerPoint, PDF, Adobe Acrobat Pro has a way to read through and see the reading order, hear the reading order rather. But that, turning VoiceOver on is beyond the scope of this tutorial.
Indeed. I still recommend it.
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. I have learned a lot about page layout by listening to PDFs.
Yeah, I bet. Very cool, isn't it?
It's enormously frustrating is what it is.
Yes.
Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on the screen and can be used to control the computer using only your keyboard.
VoiceOver on system preferences, accessibility window, accessibility features table, PowerPoint, farmers window, toolbar.
So
You are currently on a toolbar. To
gonna-
interact with the items on this toolbar, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
I'm gonna tab over to some things. See, I would have expected it to read this, but it's not. This is where, this is more about my lack of familiarity with VoiceOver.
Which in itself is possibly an accessibility issue.
In toolbar, 11 items autosave on switch. Interact with the title of switch.
Oh, you
Automatically
see,
save. You are currently on a switch inside of a toolbar.
I'm
Autosave menu autosave button.
way
Search
up
and
at the
autosave
tool.
lead instruct and app ship share present entering home tab format new super catch and lock send pitch create and share leaving home tab
This
command
is why you
entering scroll
use
area
skip the
scroll area.
content.
leaving rectangle entering Y inclusive design. We've got some problems. It's time to look at them differently. The gnarly truths, people. We've got deep historical scars that manifest as modern inequity, and they continue to cause deep fissures in our communities. Profit. We've got a model that isn't working so awesome anymore, but what on earth can we replace it with? What if we didn't just aim for more? How can you turn the capitalist ship around? Planet. What are we doing? Aquifers drying up because of our farming practices. We're going to leave people with no water. Ford Foundation, Hewlett Foundation, Omidar Network, Santa Fe Institute, Open Society Foundation's Eastern Market. Do you make decisions? Ethics. What is our tolerance for failure? What is our tolerance for explicit bias? Baking and bias. Nothing is neutral. Modern ethical issues. Many of the modern problems we're confronting are ethical issues. We all are designers of this world. What is your responsibility? Application, system dialogue. Dictate PowerPoint, farmers, window, edit text insertion at beginning of text. Why inclusive design? We've got some problems. It's time to look at them differently. The gnarly truth. System preferences, voiceover off.
So what was interesting there, Colin, is that it read the titles, obviously, that we had put in on the slides that had no title. Otherwise, it would have just skipped over them.
Right. One thing I noticed is like on slide 2 there, the
Yeah,
gnarly truths. Because there isn't any punctuation in your title, the screen reader read the gnarly truths, people, we've got deep historical scars.
you know, that's
Did you
a
notice that?
different, so that's a slightly different reason, I think. I don't know. No, I think you're right. It did. I don't think that's about punctuation, though. I think that's about reading the outline view versus reading the slide itself. What I should have done is left VoiceOver on and tabbed through to get to.
Welcome to VoiceOver. Voice.
Let me see.
Voiceover on PowerPoint, farmers, window, toolbar. You are currently on a toolbar. To interact with the items on this toolbar, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
See,
In toolbar, interact with the title of autosave. Section. Create and share Adobe PDF. No button. This will delete the slide, its notes page, and any graphics or media. Do you want now in farmers window, create and share Adobe PDF button. Share PDF for viewing or commenting. You are currently on a button inside of a scroll area. To click this button, press Control, Option, Space. To stop interacting with this scroll, undo increase indent position. Undo increase indent position. You are currently on a button. To click this button, press this will delete the slide, its notes page, and any graph now in farmers window. Create and share Adobe PDF button. Undo increase indent position. Create and share Adobe PDF button. Share PDF for viewing or commenting. Create and share Adobe create and share out of home tab command. In home tab, interact with interact P. For more options, A, S.
I don't know how to get over to the slide.
Edit text insertion on Word.
Oh,
B,
there we go.
between characters and the gnarly truths. You are currently on a text area inside of a text box. Leaving title text box. Entering
it
content
tells you.
placeholder text box. Edit text. People, we've got deep historical scars that manifest as modern inequity, and they continue to cause deep fissures. People, we've got deep historical scars that manifest as modern inequity, and they continue to cause deep fissures in our communities. Profit, we've got a model that isn't working, so voiceover off.
So it did read out that this was the gnarly truths was the title, and then it went on to the content. It's in the outline form that it didn't read that out. I
Yeah.
am not a user of VoiceOver, and so you can see how badly I use it. Somebody who uses it would not be stumbling like I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I have learned, because I listen to articles when I'm out on walks and things like that, and I have gained an appreciation for the challenges that people who need to use screen readers encounter when they're interacting with, all of the different types of content that we take for granted.
Sure.
And so it's just become more important for me to do even little things that don't seem, is this image decorative? Is it not? Those types of things can really make a significant difference for somebody who needs to use a screen reader.
Absolutely. And just like even the title, having a title that's a unique title for each slide, that's something I learned embarrassingly recently. And again, that's one of those things that makes access easy or not for somebody. And once you know how to do it, there's no reason not to do it. It's quite simple to do this stuff. Nothing I did here was all that difficult.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, thank you for walking me through those things, and I'm sure there are more things that we could learn.
Thanks for being my buddy on this.
Pleasure.